In this video, I'm going to share with you yogic teachings about the soul and the ego. Now, as human beings, we are, made up of many different things. We're energetic beings. We're made up of atoms and other things proven by science. And from a yogic perspective, the human being is also made up of the soul and the ego. Now, the soul in yoga is referred to as Atman. So Atman comes from the Sanskrit language, and Sanskrit is one of the oldest languages in the world, and it's also the language of yoga. So we refer to the soul as Atman, and we refer to the ego as Ahamkara. Now, from a yogic perspective, your soul, your Atman, is a loving, spiritual being, right? Everyone has a soul, and this soul is selfless. It's driven by purpose, and it's here to really focus on inner transformation, on growth, and to evolve. On the other hand, we have the ego, the Ahamkara. And your Ahamkara is a survival mechanism. It's here to protect you, to keep you safe, in particular, keep your soul safe. Because your soul is your true self. This is who you are. And your ego is simply here to serve the energy of your soul. It's here to look out for your own self-interest. Because if we're too connected to the soul, we're, very loving, very selfless, wanting to serve and help others, it's important that we have the ego here to protect us, to meet our needs. So the soul and the ego are very two important aspects of the human being. Though what generally happens is we tend to identify heavily with the ego. Right? And when we have this belief, this false belief that we are the ego, when in fact we're not, but when we heavily identify with the ego, we naturally suffer. We experience negative emotions. Because as I said, your ego is looking out for your self-interest. It is focused on external achievement, whereas your soul is focused on inner transformation. And so if we're heavily identified with the ego, we're constantly seeking, external achievements such as wealth, money, prestige, reputation, status, right? We are constantly wanting popularity. We want others to like us, that sort of thing. These inflated egos, they kill our confidence, or they mask ourselves with confidence in the form of arrogance, for instance. And so it's important that you let your ego take the back seat and you let your soul drive you, right? And the ego is simply serving the energy of your soul. Because when you heavily identify with your ego, your Ahamkara, right, you're letting your ego drive. And when you let your soul take the back seat, you lack purpose in life. And as I said, your life you'll experience a constant roller coaster of emotions. And, you are experiencing, you suffer. When you're connected to your soul, right, your Atman, this is when you're connected to your true self, because this is who you are. Your soul is good. It's pure. It's precious. It's pure love. It's bliss. And when you're connected to your soul, you are being true to yourself. You're in your authentic power. And often what happens is, we experience a conflict between the soul and the ego. So I'll offer you an example. So for instance, there was this one time me and my sister Caroline had a fight, as sisters do. We had a really massive fight. We were swearing and yelling at each other, that sort of thing. And we were both experiencing so much stress. I had to really, step back and meditate. And through my meditations, I was really connecting with my soul, right? Because your soul wants you to evolve. It wants you to transform. And so the messages I got was, to simply rekindle the relationship, to send Caroline, my sister, a text, a kind, loving message, and let her know that I'm sorry, right? Because your soul is not about being right, it's about being happy. And so those thoughts were coming from my soul. So that's exactly what I did. I picked up my phone, and as soon as I'm typing up the message, I get other thoughts that creep into my mind. And these thoughts are telling me, hey Jan, put your phone down. You know, Caroline's a bitch. She doesn't deserve your apology, and you are right. She's in the wrong, right? Because your ego is concerned about, you being right. It wants to protect you. So then naturally I put the phone down and I said, hell yeah, I'm not sending her a text. I'm not going to apologize to her. And this constant battle, between your soul and ego, what do? Soul, ego. It's like this inner conflict that's going on in your mind. So in the end, I had to really, really connect with my soul. And I decided to listen to my soul, which is to send Caroline the message and apologize. That night when we met up, Caroline was so touched by my message. We gave each other a cuddle, a hug, and, we rekindled the relationship. And obviously it wasn't easy. We had our awkward moments as well. And, it can be very difficult to write a kind, loving message when you're coming from a place of fear and anger, right? Because your ego is driven by fear, right? It has insecurities and self-doubt. Fear comes in the form of, for instance, anger, frustration, negative emotions like guilt, shame, envy, jealousy, right? These are all forms of fear. So it's important that you're able to distinguish your thoughts. Are the thoughts loving, spiritual, selfless? They're coming from your soul. Or are the thoughts fearful, insecure, selfish? Those thoughts are coming from your ego. And at the end of the day, you want your ego to take a back seat. You want your ego to serve the energy of your soul, and let your soul drive your life, because that's where you are in your authentic power. And the goal of yoga is to really connect with your true self, to connect with your soul. That is the goal of yoga, to unleash your true self, to connect to the love that is already within you. Now, in my next video, I'm going to talk more about the ego, the Ahamkara, and talk about ways where you can befriend your ego so that your ego can serve the energy of your soul, so that you are in your authentic power and you can experience more joy and fulfillment every day. Now, if you have any requests for certain topics you'd like me to cover, certain topics coming from a yogic perspective, feel free to comment below, DM me, let me know, and I would be so happy to hear from you. And I hope you found this content beneficial and interesting. Okay, sending you love. Mwah.